child care?
Thank you, Sharon. Just as the word intentional sounds, being intentional just means that being purposeful, being keen, not just doing things for the sake of doing things. So we are talking about raising children, not just allowing them to grow through our hands, but raising them with some purpose, with some plan, with some intentionality, meaningful childcare. That's what we are talking about. Yes.
With not just by chance.
Definitely,
You
yes.
have purposed, you have planned, and then you do it.
Yes, and you're very intentional about it. You are aware at this point you're taking care of a child, whether as a parent or as a nanny or as a teacher. Anyone who is handling a child needs to do it very purposefully, meaningfully, and intentionally.
Wow, that's an interesting perspective you just brought there, Miriam, because most of the times when you say intentional childcare, we are thinking it's the parent who's supposed to be intentional about taking care of their child. But I hear you saying it's anyone who the child is in the hands of.
Yes, definitely, Sharon, because there are so many people who come across our children. We have our children at home. Once we get our children as parents, by all means, we are the single most influential people in the lives of our children. We would love to leave it at that. But the truth is, our children will grow, become of age, and go to school. We will also go to work and leave our children in the hands of caregivers. So that's why I'm talking about anyone who is in the business of handling children. There are so many other children who will so many other people who will handle children other than their parents. We even have relatives living in our homes.
Right.
So anyone in the environment of a child, in this case, becomes a caregiver, becomes a child handler, and as such needs to be intentional.
Okay. All right. So let's get to the practical bit of it. So how does intentional caregiving look like?
All right. Just like I said, to be intentional means you're not just doing it. You're not just, you can just get a child and you'll feed the child and you'll put the child to bed and the child grows and they get to school age. You'll pay school fees and let them go to school and then let them come back. They get to teenage years and you'll just watch them grow and say, that's how teens behave. That's how, how at that developmental stage a child is supposed to behave. But what exactly are you doing as the adult in the life of a child? Because it's very, very important for adults. I'm using adults here because we are talking about children.
Yes.
And the definition of children by the World Health Organization is anyone from conception to 18 years. Yeah, so all those are children. So it's really, really possible to have a child and just allow them to grow, to be, because either way they will grow. If you're feeding them, they will grow. But now to be intentional means you're not just letting it happen. You are very, very purposeful. And the truth is, as a parent, you are the most single influencer of your child. But there are other people coming in. So how are you allowing your influence to be? That is the intentionality. Right from the early years, right actually from conception, because life begins at conception, Sharon. So once you realize you're expecting a child, you are already beginning your journey to nurturing and to childcare. What are you telling yourself? What are you telling your child, the child inside your womb? If there is, even as a father, as your wife is going, or as your partner is going through the journey of conception, what experiences are you having together? Because you're already communicating to your child. Then right after birth, because life is happening, Sharon, childhood is not a preparation, a journey towards adulthood. Childhood is a stage in development on its own. The way we are living as adults, children are living.
Yeah.
Whether a 6-month-old, they have their day.
Wow.
Whether a 3-month-old or an 18-year-old, they have their day. The way you plan your day, you wake up, you're getting ready to go to work. They have their day. They have their own 24 hours.
Yeah.
So how do you manage these 24 hours? Are they just sleeping through, waking up, eating, having diaper changes for the infants, going back to sleep? And we are operating around them as if they were objects. And we meet again, we pick them up if they cry, no talking to them. So intentionality means that you're taking advantage of the windows of opportunity in the life of your child at every developmental stage.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, wow. All right. So let's get a bit deeper, okay? So you're saying that we should not just be about, helping them go by the day. So why is this important?
Being intentional is important because, like I've said, there are so many influences in the world over our children. Right now we are in this information age where
Yes.
most parents are very worried about the influences. You feel like you're not the only voice in the life of your child. So today morning you tell your child, this is not right, this is how we do things in our house. And by the time you're coming back in the evening, your child is telling you, but my friend said, but I read somewhere,
But the
but I
teacher
watched
said.
somewhere, but the teacher said. So when you're intentional means you're going to be pausing and not just being the commanding voice in the life of your child, but also pausing and listening and walking, like you're walking with your child at every developmental stage. You are enjoying the journey of caring for your child as a
Yes.
parent, and I'll keep interchanging as a parent, as a teacher. I can't leave teachers out because, Sharon, teachers are very influential in the lives of
Yes,
of
they
children.
are.
I don't know if you've tried to guide your child through homework, and every time they're telling you,
I
teacher didn't
have
say that,
several
you
times.
know, and you're thinking, even me as a teacher, I have children, my own children. Sometimes it becomes hard to guide them because
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell them this is how we do it, and they're like, no,
Teacher
teacher
said.
didn't say that. So that's how powerful a teacher is. And another very powerful person in the life of a child is the nanny. And that is why, Sharon, at this point, I should say that even as parents, as working parents, it's very, very important that when we bring in these caregivers for our children, we need to help them know, other than knowing that's the fridge, that's the cooker, that's the microwave, we need to let them know the value systems in our home. How intentional are you? What is important for you about your child? Is it important for your child to believe in what you believe in, for instance? As a believer, is it important for your child to pray before they go to bed, to
Yeah.
pray when they wake up, to give thanks before they eat? Is it, if that's important and you've brought in a nanny, don't assume that she will just flow. Take your time, take them through the family values, take them through what you stand for, take them through what is important in your home concerning your child. That is
Right.
intentionality. What do you want your child to turn? What do you desire? Because at this point, you are dreaming for your child. There's a great destiny that God has given for your child.
Yeah.
But remember, you are involved. You are partnering with God in birthing that destiny. So you can't just let your child grow. And that's why we are talking about intentionality. You can't just let your child watch everything.
Yeah.
So you need to talk to your nanny. What do we watch? What kind of movies do we watch? How much screen time do we have in this home?
Please say it louder. Screen time is
You know,
such a big deal.
indeed, I know it is. And a lot of times we are thinking screen is good, it keeps the child busy as the nanny does other things.
Yeah.
I've had parents say, for me, as long as that TV is on, I can go for a journey, do my shopping, and come
Right.
back later. And it's worrying.
It's not a good thing to see, right? It's not something we should be proud of.
No, not at all. Not at all. We are raising human children. And the best influence for a human child is another human being.
Right.
So why are we letting screen be a very important influence in our children? We hear a lot parents saying that my child is learning how to speak in English. My child is learning so much from the screen. Sharon, a child would learn better being taught by a human being.
Wow.
By all means,
Yeah.
physical. Because you see, when we talk about intentional parenting, Sharon, we are talking intentional childcare. We're talking about childcare that touches on all the domains of development. We are talking about a physical domain. You are interested in, as a parent, if your child is growing. Is your child growing tall? Is your child adding weight? And that's why when we go to clinics, doctors will ask us, why is your child not adding weight?
Yeah.
Because that's an important domain. We are interested in the cognitive development. Is my child's brain developing?
All right.
We're interested in their emotional development. Are they able to regulate their emotions? Or are they children who cannot put themselves together, always always throwing tantrums,
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
if you've seen in
So
supermarkets, you go with your child and they are picking everything, and if you say no, they are rolling
they are
themselves on
rolling
the
and
floor.
throwing everything all over.
And it's usually not a very funny moment for parents.
It's
You're
not.
thinking all eyes are on me. What are people thinking about me? But intentional parenting, intentional childcare, means that at that moment you are with your child, every moment, Sharon, is a time for you to pass on a value, a time for you to influence your child. So even at those moments when your child is rolling on the floor and you're feeling, oh my God, who is watching?
Yeah.
You don't need to worry about who is watching. It's you and your child. Take time, be calm, talk to your child, guide them through, let them know why we are not buying what they are asking for then.
Yeah.
And why we may consider it another time, or why it's just not part of the budget for that day.
Right.
You are helping them learn to regulate their emotion. We are talking about the social domain of development. So if we are keeping our children constantly on screen, you can imagine. And people have been making fun and coming up with memes about family gatherings where everyone is on phone. We have gone to visit grandparents. You land with your phone. All your children are on their phone and headphones and ear. Like no one is there. Yet we are all there.
Right.
But it is happening, Sharon. It's not. It's not just something that people are making fun of. It is true. It's happening. So what are we saying? If a child is constantly on screen, their emotional domain of development, it's not growing because they are not having a human interaction. We're also talking about the moral domain of development.
Right.
If you are not being intentional, that means you can easily raise a child who does not have a sense of wrong and right. So anything for them goes because they are not being given direction. And that's why we are saying intentional childcare means you are intentional. What you do, because remember, Sharon, children learn more from what they see than what they hear.
Right.
Yeah. So what are you doing? How do you treat other people? How do you talk to other people? How do you behave when you are annoyed or angered? They are watching, So if you won't be telling them, we don't do that, yet you're doing it. We don't say that, yet you're saying it.
Yeah.
So we are concerned about all the domains of development, even in all spaces where children are, even in school. Are we building their morality, or are we just interested in their A grades? And once they get an A, we are good with it. So what if you get an A and your person is not complete? You have a very super grade, but you are not complete inside. You don't have good morals. You are not grown emotionally, So intentional childcare is childcare that is focused on all domains of development. We are talking about physical, cognitive, emotional, social. We are talking about the moral development, spiritual development.
Absolutely.
What do you believe in? Is it important for your child to believe? Because remember, even the Bible says it's the parents to teach, the way
the way that they should go.
Yes,
the children,
so
the way they should go.
No one else is going to do it for you. Teach, train up
a child.
And training is not a one instant thing. That's where the intentionality is. You cannot be telling a 2-year-old, find your God, find your way in the spiritual space. Your intentionality as a parent means right from the word, right from the time you get your child, your child, even when they don't seem like they understand what you're doing, they need to see you pray. They need to see you read the Bible. They need to see you go to church. They need to see you do things that you would love them to believe in.
Right.
That's intentionality. And the people you are bringing into their spaces, again, intentionality demands that you're not contradicting yourself. So you're not bringing in people in their spaces that don't seem to practice or to live the kind of a life that you want your child to watch.
Wow.
So it means also even in the choice of schooling for your child. Yeah, because if there's a way I desire for my child to grow up, then that means even as I go to enroll them in a school, it's important for me it's more than just being shown the grading
Yeah, and how
system
the
and
school
everything,
performs. Yeah.
Yes, because a lot of times we go and we are looking at the notice board and seeing how
Yeah, yeah.
many is,
Ace.
and we are fine with that. Intentionality means that you will sit with the administration or whoever it is that you need to sit with, ask them what's the value system of the school,
Yeah.
what's the culture of the school,
Right.
what do you stand for, because any school should teach children, but what is it that is more? You are being intentional as a parent,
Right.
you're being intentional even in the classroom setup. Once your child is in class, you need to follow up with your teacher and ask them, what do you realize, what do you see about my child? How about the learning style of my child? Is there anything you see I need to do as a parent? Is there something I need to, like you're not, I'm not trying to say that we be all over our children,
Yeah.
Sharon, but I'm
Yeah.
saying either way, we have a timeline as parents or as adults that we can influence and positively influence our children. So that time we shouldn't take it lightly. We need to be very, very proactive and intentional during that time when a child can listen and can look up to you.
Right.
Yes.
Wow. Very, very, very well put, Miriam. Allow me to go back to the question of screen time,
Yes.
because I think it's an elephant in the room that we don't quite want to talk about. Because we give a lot of excuses as to why we are giving our children, screens and allowing them screen time. As a child development expert, are there consequences for too much screen time? What has research shown in terms of the brain development, like you're saying, in terms of, emotional management and all? What have you seen? What have you had?
By all means, Sharon, there are definitely negative consequences of too much screen on children. It's let me say it's the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Because parents will tell you, but my child is learning how to talk from screen.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, actually, the screen are serving us, not the children. Because once you put your child on screen, Sharon, you can do your things.
Yeah.
And the child will not bother you. I have 3 children, and when they were younger, the only time I wouldn't hear them, fighting as siblings.
Is when they
At that point they would cooperate properly. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
you will hear them deciding on what to watch,
Yeah.
and how long they'll stay on that particular.
Before going to the next.
Yes, and I'm like, oh my God, you mean you people can agree like this?
Yeah.
But the moment you switch off, you'll even start seeing people getting cranky, like they're getting very unsettled now.
Yeah.
So that tells you there's something about screen, So other than the fact that it denies children the opportunity to interact humanly, to interact and grow their social skills, because that's the number one, I would say, not really the number one, but it's a big concern, even for us as adults, Sharon.
Yeah.
If I come here and I'm on my phone and you're on yours, we won't talk.
We won't.
We won't engage. You won't know about me. I won't know about you.
I actually saw recently in a certain restaurant, they have said there's no Wi-Fi here. Talk to the person next to you. Just pretend we are in 1995.
Can you imagine?
Wow, that's so nice.
Can you imagine? And that's now we are coming there because people are beginning to see just how bad it is, how uncaring we are. You could be seated with someone and they actually need you to even just say hi to them. You never know what they are going through. It could just be that high, and maybe they end up opening up to you and telling you what they're dealing with, and you could be of help. So I think that restaurant is doing great. But now imagine such cases are replaying in our homes.
Right.
You've heard people saying that there are homes where all children disappear to their bedrooms. The only time you see them coming is when you switch off the Wi-Fi. Everyone will be coming to ask, who switched off the Wi-Fi? Is there power? Kwani stima imeenda? They are all, it becomes an urgent need. Without that, they are fine. They can even stay without food, So social skills, developing social skills is definitely derailed by a lot of time on screen. other than that, even visual, even when you're talking about the physical domain of development, if your child is constantly on screen, Sharon, those lights on the screen, I mean, can't be so good for a child's eye.
Yeah.
And when they sit there, they don't want to leave. And research has proven, again, from birth up to around 5 years, Sharon, 90% of a child's brain is developed. That means we are not doing very much after 5 years. So if you're putting your child on screen between 0 to 5 years, that means you are slowing the neurons, because the brain, the neurons are developing and connecting very fast within those early years. That's what research has proven. So if the child is just doing passive learning, sitting and watching, that's passive. There is no interaction. There is no challenge.
Yeah.
You just need to sit and wait for what will happen next, because you can't change what will happen next when you're watching something. What is programmed is what will come, right?
Yeah.
So how is that challenging your brain, honestly? So there is it affects brain development, it affects social skills development, even emotional. Like I've just told you, when they're seated watching, they are calm. I have seen it in my own house. The moment you say, okay, screen time is over, you see people now beginning to complain. Others will begin to remember they are very hungry. Others will begin to remember that someone took their thing. And so it's like it's a high. You have brought them down, So it's also affecting their emotional development. Again, we all know, as we watch, we are seated. You are not watching as you're walking, right? So what does that mean? It's a sedentary lifestyle. You are seated. And it's addictive, So you sit again, you keep sitting. So you are likely to develop lifestyle diseases and obesity.
Right.
So there are enough concerns. Honestly, there are enough concerns. And remember, the child's, we are forming habits, especially in early years. So if a child 1 year, 2 years is constantly on screen, how are you telling me that you're going to change that when the child is in their teens?
No, you
when
can't.
The person is an adult?
You will not.
It's going to be hard.
Means,
we are forming lifelong habits. That is it. So we need to start what we want to sustain.
Absolutely.
And what we want to be proud of as caregivers, as child handlers. So we need to, not something we don't want even our children to deal with. Right now, a lot of adults are still dealing with struggles around screen addiction. So we don't want to set up our children for such kind of struggles. And that's why you need to be intentional, set boundaries, set limits, discuss, and also check research. As an intentional child handler, someone needs to be to be knowledgeable. We need to know how much screen time, by the way, is sufficient for a 1-year-old, for instance. Is there even any amount?
Any at all?
At 2 years, how much? Because there are guidelines. It's just that we don't want to face this, but there are guidelines, and we will be surprised. In fact, in early childhood, they actually do not need that screen unless you're doing a FaceTime with your child. Maybe you're far and you're checking on them, and you're doing a video call. So much of the things that we are saying screen will teach our children are things that we can teach our children as parents, as teachers, and as nannies. It's possible to teach and influence them.
Absolutely. Thank you. When we talk about intentional childcare, there's time involved in this. And you made a statement earlier and you said it's not necessarily about how much time, it's about the quality of the time.
Definitely.
Please talk about it.
Yes.
Because I think one of the reasons or excuses parents will give for not being present and not being available is I need to work. I need to be here. I need to be in meetings. I need to go, do my biashara and things like that. Talk about the aspect of time.
Thank you, Sharon. So, every time we hear talks on parenting as parents, sometimes we shy off because we feel judged. We begin to feel, are they just about to tell me how I'm doing it wrong? To be very honest, parenting is a lot of work, and it's hard work, Sharon. But there's grace provided for it.
Amen.
Because you see, the Bible says children are a gift from God, a heritage, and blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them. So it begins there, just beginning to feel how privileged you are to be a parent. let me now talk about parents.
Yeah.
You need, first of all, to have a positive mindset, because it is this positivity again that is going to flow into your child. So how do you feel about being a parent? Because you can't be intentional if you're feeling unfortunate, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling like, oh my God, this is too much work. So you need to feel positive, to feel happy, say, oh, this is a gift that God gave me. And how blessed I am that I have these ones, And again, the Bible says that the blessings of the Lord
make it rich and addeth no sorrow.
And we have just said children are a blessing.
Yeah.
So you need to operate from that point where you're looking at your children as a blessing.
Not a burden.
No.
Yeah.
They shouldn't make you feel overwhelmed, feel sad. Oh, how will I even balance? Now, does it mean, even sometimes we get overwhelmed until we get to a point where we are talking to children in strange ways. You're asking them, do you now want me to stop working so that I be here with you?
Yeah.
And
do you know how much I go through to do this and this for you?
Yes, the other day you were asking for a toy, you were asking for a phone. How do you think I'm going to get you this phone?
Yeah.
I mean, you are even getting cranky. So you need to relax as a parent, realize that you have a very beautiful assignment and you are honored with such an assignment. And when you operate from that point, you will handle yourself with grace, because these children need to look up to you in all aspects.
Yeah.
You see, Sharon, right now, when you have younger children, they may want to have you at home all the time. But I can tell you, as they grow, they want also to look up to you. They want to say, my mommy does something, Yeah, so it's about the balance. It's not about the quantity of time. It's the quality of time. Because you could be home the whole day and you're just not there.
Yeah.
You could be physically
present.
Yes. So intentional parenting means you are present, body, mind, and soul.
Yeah.
So you'd rather be present, body, mind, and soul for a shorter time than just being present physically forever or for all the time.
And then absent emotionally in all other ways.
Your child, and your children are very sensitive.
Yes, they are.
When they're talking, when your little child, however, even at the stage of breastfeeding, that's why they breastfeed, as they look up to the mother, because they want to see. You can imagine your baby is suckling and you're holding your phone.
Yeah,
the child can see there is no much connection, so they need to have you there, in physically, emotionally, and otherwise present.
Absolutely.
So you would rather finish all that you need to attend to, and then be there qualitatively, not quantitatively, so that if they are telling you a story, something that happened in school, something that happened during the day, because we are talking about children up to teenage, they'll be telling you about what their friends feel about them, what their friends are saying about them. So you are not listening and you're looking away or replying to work emails. Like when you are there, they know you're there. Sharon, when my children were young, I decided.
I think we will hold that story.
All right.
We will get back
Sharon,
to that story. Let's take a very quick break. We'll be back in a few moments.
Okay.
It's time for the business with Melissa Oduor.
Hope FM, another quality service from Christ, is the answer ministry.
The Business Line. It's just business.
0933 is our SMS line. 0717400555 is our WhatsApp number, and you can reach us across our socials at Hope FM Live. Okay, welcome back, Miriam. You were just about to tell us a story, so I hope you remember the
Yes,
story.
I do, Sharon.
Okay.
You had asked about the issue of time.
Yes, that's what we're talking
considering
about.
we have so much going on
Yeah.
as parents, especially. And so you took me back to a time when not even just when they were young, but even right now, every time I find myself listening to my children, and sometimes it's you find yourself, you're listening and you're also attending to other things. And my little girl will constantly tell me, Mom, look at me in the eye.
Yeah.
Mom, you're not listening. My bigger girl will tell me, okay, finish what you're doing, then we will
I'll talk
come
to
back.
you.
So that means they know when we are not present.
They do.
And that's why I'm saying we don't need to beat ourselves too hard about the quantity of time until we are feeling like we are not enough.
Yeah.
You are enough. The grace of God upon your life has made you enough for your child. And He has equipped you with everything that you need to bring up this child. Just believe that. Walk in that faith. Put a positive mindset to yourself as you're taking care of this child. Whatever time it is that you find with your child, make it meaningful. Again, I remember when they were younger, I used to, once I get home, because I realized I would get very easily distracted. Sometimes you get home and you're still receiving work calls.
Yeah.
So I put a kiondo, like a basket. I hung it on the wall. And because I wanted them to feel my intentionality, I hope they did. I don't know. They can confirm now, they're bigger. So I would get home and tell them, see, I have come home. I am putting this phone off and I'm putting it here. I would deposit it in the basket.
Okay.
So I'm going to be with you from 6 to 8 when you go to bed. By that time, I'm not receiving calls. And let me tell you, Sharon, I would see their pupils dilating. They would be feeling so important. You mean Mom is putting away the phone? I think that's something a parent, especially with younger children, can try. I would see them like, they would even tell their friends, my mom puts her phone away. She puts her phone off. You see that basket? We have a basket for putting so that she can attend to us.
Wow.
It wasn't easy for me. I can't lie, it was easy because I'll be thinking, who is calling me? What opportunities am I missing and all that? But it would be nice just 2 hours after work. By the time, they go to bed by 8, surely. Yeah. You can go to, you can extend, you can sleep late if you want, but at least you have been with them. That's intentionality. So it's about the quality of time, not the quantity of time.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. And maybe that begins us on the next conversation or question that I was about to ask, and which is the how. How can I be intentional? You just gave that example of a basket. It's one way, and I feel that as many of us as can should try that.
I think it's a nice thing.
Yeah. So how else can we now practically be intentional?
Thank you, Sharon. You see, we are talking about children from birth all the way to 18 years. Yeah. And at every stage, the developmental needs of children at various stages of their growth are different. What an infant needs is not what a teenager would need.
Yes.
So the practicality in terms of intentionality for an infant is different from that of an older child.
Okay.
So right from infancy, for instance, if you have a newborn, of course, by that age, no speech.
Yes.
But the child is there. I just began by saying children are living their life. They are not waiting now to start living when they grow. They're already living. And it's very important as adults to realize that. Sometimes we handle them like, you will know that when you grow up.
Yeah.
I'll start taking you seriously when you grow up. No, we need to take them seriously. An infant needs to be taken seriously. And that's why their cry is important. It's the only way they're expressing themselves. So you have just put the baby to bed And you know the way mothers tiptoe,
Yeah.
praying that you've
Don't
had a
wake up.
sleepless night, and you just
Yeah.
put the baby to bed, and you are tiptoeing out of the bedroom, and then the child just lets out a cry, and you're thinking, not again.
Yeah.
So when sometimes you can feel like, I'm not responding to that one,
Yeah.
and you let the child cry. You can also decide to put yourself together and say, oh, you're not ready to sleep right now? All right. So you're being intentional.
Yes.
It is not very comfortable for you. It may not make sense because you may feel like, who am I speaking to?
Yeah.
But that engaging the child, okay, you're not ready to sleep right now. That's fine. So you're already beginning to communicate to this child that life is not about people bullying things into you. If you don't feel like sleeping, you don't just sleep because I'm tired and I need you to sleep. Yeah.
Nice one. Yeah.
So you pick so you are being intentional at the level of your child, right? Sometimes you're changing their diaper, for instance. So you don't just put them there on the place you're changing their nappy from, and you start and you are quietly pulling it away, wrapping it and throwing it, and you are not talking. Engage your child. Let them know, oh, we are removing this because we want baby to be fresh and clean. This doesn't smell nice. Once you change the baby, tell them, oh, baby now is clean, and you're looking at them in the eye as you're speaking to them, and you're connecting, because at this stage you're looking at building lasting connections. You want secure attachments. The child needs to know, I am with someone who genuinely cares for me, because at that stage of development, children are building trust or mistrust. So if they cry and you let them cry, you are not bothered. They stay with a diaper that is too wet and they are not being changed. You are communicating something. No one cares for you. So they begin, they may not articulate it because they haven't developed language, but they begin to feel like the world is full of people who don't care. So why should I care? Remember, childhood is a foundation of character in adulthood. So at young age, if you have a young baby, if the baby is suckling, look at them, encourage them, talk to them, let them know you find it a joy to bring them up. As they grow older and they begin to question things, and you start feeling like, are they still those bundles of joy, and you're asking, these are too many questions, and you begin feeling the child is talking too much. That's another window of opportunity when they're asking, Mom, what is that? Oh, Dad, what is that? What does it do? Don't get annoyed. Don't even say, what's wrong with you? You're asking too many questions. You are shutting a window of opportunity. Sharon, at every stage of development, children have windows of opportunity that if as parents, as teachers, as nannies, we take advantage of, or we will be happy that we did. So at that age, when they're asking those too many questions, answer. And you don't have to know everything again, because you don't want them to grow up thinking you know everything. You also, because the truth is that we don't know everything, but it's okay for your child to hear, I don't know about that. I will find out and come back, so don't fear to not know until now you begin giving responses that do not make sense, because you really just have to to talk. So tell them, I don't know about that one. Maybe I'll find out. You can also find out, and then we'll come and talk about it. You are enlarging their sphere in terms of reasoning is concerned. So they're beginning to feel you can trust them to think on their own. You can trust them to bring solutions. So you are developing their cognition, So, and then into the teenage years, when they, a lot of people, a lot of times you feel like children start shutting off when they're in their teenage years. It's another window of opportunity, because at that point, if you have established a very good relationship with your child from an early age, it's more unlikely that your teen will shut off on you. It's most of the time they could shut any other person, but if you have been, like we have been saying, at this age they are beginning to be very real. So they know if you are genuinely connected and interested in them. So start thinking about what interests them, and address that. If your teen comes and says, my friends say that I don't look nice, so don't start telling them, and is that something to make you feel bad? Is that important really? Why are you allowing people to put you down? You're invalidating their feelings. At teen age, it's very important what my friends think about me. So you can't begin to give me lectures on how I shouldn't feel that way,
Wow.
So come in and reaffirm me and let them know there are people who will just give you mean comments, not because actually there's anything wrong with you, but because they have their own personal issues. So you don't bring yourself down because of that. You are pretty, you look good the way you are created in the image and likeness of God. God loves you. It's so at every stage of development, you need your intentionality now depends on your child's needs,
Right.
in terms even of play items for the younger children. What items are you bringing for them to play with? So if a child at 3 years, if you bring a ball, that means you want to grow the motor, you want the gross motor, the legs to be strong and all. So if you start buying building blocks, you are building cognition, problem solving, critical thinking. So it depends on whatever developmental stage. But whatever you do as a parent, whether you are buying play items, you are buying toys, put in the thoughtfulness. As I buy these building blocks, what do I need to do? What do I want my child to pick out of them? If I'm buying like those indoor games, chess, and you're not buying for them and telling them I bought that one to stay, it's not like you want to keep them away from you. Can you play with them also? As you play, they need to see you also lose, so they can know, okay, so it's not bad to lose. Yes, so children are not growing in a vacuum, Sharon. They are growing in an environment. The idea is to make this environment rich and intentional.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Maybe that's why we should leave it at, because our time is gone. Thank you so much, Miriam. I wouldn't want to cut you short. Any comment, any final? Well, let's finish at that. Or do you have any other final comment?
I would just say for any parent, just know that you're the single most influential person in your child's life, and your children are craving for your influence. Please take advantage of that craving.
Wow. Thought-provoking. Thank you so much, Miriam, for coming. Thank you for engaging us. Levi, thank you for following the conversation. Thank you so much, Dennis Mwangangi, Pastor Jackton Asante. Thank you, Jane Paul, Deborah Wafula, Francisca. God bless you, Eliud, Enos Kirama. Many of us enjoying and following the conversation. God bless you so, Miriam, for coming, and thank you for the insightful conversation. That's our time on today's Breakfast Table conversation. That's where we wrap it at for today, but I'll be